Today we're here in Guildford at this fantastic new build house where Spirit Energy is installing 58 solar panels on the flat roof, along with 3 Tesla Powerwalls and a Zappi car charger. In this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about flat roof solar panels. How are they installed? How does the mounting work? How do you design a flat roof solar system? All that is going to be answered in this video. And if you do have any questions, we reply to absolutely everything in the comments section. So do ask anything or get in touch with us if you'd like a free, bespoke design and quotation that's tailored to your needs and that maximizes the return that you can get from your roof space. Anyway, let's start by taking a look at how the installation actually comes together. So to start with, let me show you the mounting system, because that's the foundation of any flat roof array. Now at Spirit Energy, we tend to use the Van der Valk Ballasted mounting system. We've used it for over a decade now, and it's proven to be extremely reliable and high quality. Now there are cheaper flat roof mounting systems out there, including ones that use plastic tubs. But for something that needs to work reliably and consistently on a roof for over 30 years, this just gives us a bit more confidence, even though it is more expensive. It's worth paying for quality when it comes to the integrity of your roof. Now, because it's ballasted, it's what's known as a non-penetrative system. That means we're not drilling holes through the waterproof roof membrane to fix into the structure. Instead, the metal frames sit on rubber feet that spread the load evenly across the roof. And then we hold it all in place with concrete ballast blocks so that the wind can't lift the panels off the roof. The big advantage here is that the roof membrane remains completely intact, so there are no leak points, no damage, and no awkward conversations with your roofing manufacturer or your builder if something goes wrong later down the line. You can get systems that fix into the roof using integrated fixing points, but these are best installed as part of a new build or re-roofing project before you put the roof covering on, so that everything is watertight and sealed. Now, the trade-off with a ballasted system is weight. A flat roof system like this will typically add a few tens of kilograms per square meter, depending on factors like the height of the building, its exposure to wind, and the layout of the panels. That's why we always design the system using specialist software, which looks at things like wind uplift, and we also get a structural engineer to check it before we start the installation. Most flat roof mounting systems pitch the panels between 10 and 15 degrees. That's the most common for a combination of reasons. To start with, it gives a great balance between panel performance and ballast requirements. You could tilt the panels steeper, which would give you a bit more winter production, but it would also create more wind uplift and dramatically increase the weight needed to hold everything down. Another reason for mounting the panels at 10 degrees is to do with the row spacing. If the panels are mounted more steeply, then they'll cast a longer shadow, and you'll need a bigger gap between panel rows. Meaning that while you may be able to generate a bit more per panel, you'll ultimately be able to fit less panels on the roof because of the gap required between each panel. Something else to consider is whether you mount all the panels facing south or whether you mount them east-west. Here you can see an example of an east-west mounted system. This system basically allows you to fit more panels on the roof in certain scenarios. So there are specific times where you would want to use the east-west system and certain times where you would want all the panels to just face south. But I'll talk more about that later on in the video. So now let's talk about cable management, because this is one of those details that makes a huge difference to the longevity of the solar system. We're running all the DC cabling inside dedicated channels within the mounting frames, and then dropping the cables into a cable tray in the middle of the roof. In this case, that cable tray is then leading to 2 hockey sticks, which allow the cables to enter the proposed cable run inside of the building. It's really important that your installer run cables properly, as if they're left dangling on the roof, then the cables may chafe and rub against the roof membrane, which can cause them to damage and cause the system to stop working, or worse, become a fire hazard further down the line. This is something we see all the time, and it's one of those things that installers might cut corners on in order to save cost. By running the cables through the tray, they're completely off the surface of the roof, they're properly protected, and they're easy to trace during system maintenance. On multi-roof projects like this one, we plan the routes carefully to keep them short and direct, while avoiding things like roof lights, drainage runs, and access paths. Finally, let's talk about the ballast. This is what stops the panels from flying away when the wind picks up. Now, you've got a few different options when it comes to how you ballast a flat roof mounting system. We tend to use these precast concrete blocks that sit within the Van der Valk system trays. The weight and the distribution of the ballast is really important, and the ballast blocks are not just plonked randomly under the panels. The amount of ballast under each panel is calculated accurately using the manufacturer's software based on the specific wind zone and roof geometry. The heaviest ballast tends to go around the edges and the corners where the wind uplift is strongest. Your installer should have a ballast plan worked out before installing so that you know they're not just winging it. The ballast requirement does scale. If you have a bigger array, then you need less ballast per panel than if you have a small array. Now I'm going to talk about how to actually design a solar system for a flat roof and some of the things to consider. I'm going to start by talking about the orientation of the solar panels and then touch on the spacing between the panels and how close to the edge of the roof we can actually go. Then I'm going to give you a very easy and quick method to work out how many panels you can fit on your flat roof from your kitchen table at home. So let's talk about orientation, because on a flat roof, unlike a pitched roof, you actually get a choice as to what direction you point the panels. You can point the panels south for maximum generation, or set them east-west for a more balanced daily profile, or even use a mixture across different roofs if your building shape allows. To give you an idea of the difference in generation between south and east-facing systems at low pitches like this, in southern England at 10-degree tilt, a south-facing system will produce about 91% of its theoretical maximum generation. An east-west system will produce about 84% per panel, so slightly lower. But it does often mean that you can fit more panels and therefore you end up with more generation throughout the year. So that's what you're trying to balance out. Now on this roof, we're using a combination. We've got 24 panels mounted with the east-west mounting system and 34 panels mounted using the south-facing system, just because that's what's enabled us to get the most power out of the roof space. When designing a solar system, it's really important that your installer considers things like this in order to get the most power out of your roof space, because 9 times out of 10 at residential scale, that's how you get the best rate of return and payback on your investment. And this is something we put a lot of time and thought into for every project that we work on. Another thing that makes a big difference is the row spacing between the panels. Put the panel rows too close together and the one in front will shade the one behind, especially in the winter when the sun's lower in the sky. Now the software calculates the optimal distance between rows to prevent shading, while maximising the number of panels that we can fit on the roof. In most cases, for south-facing mounting systems, you're going to leave a gap of about 480mm between the back of one edge of the panel and the front edge of the next panel. East-west systems can have denser spacing because the rows face opposite directions and then don't shade one another. That's one of the reasons that they're so efficient with roof space, so they can pretty much be butted right up against each other. I want to start by telling you about an easy way to work out at home how many panels will fit on the flat roof, because it's quite straightforward to get a rough idea as to what will fit. To start with, you can go onto Google Earth and find your roof. Then get the rough measurements using the measuring tool. Or if you've got the architectural drawings of your house, then that's even better. Then draw out the roof either on an online design tool or on a piece of paper, and make sure it's to scale, for example 1:100, so every 1 centimetre on your drawing represents a metre of the roof in real life. It's really important to leave a border around the entire edge of the roof, ideally at least 80 centimetres, and I'll come on to the reasons why this is important later on in the video. Then draw out a rectangle which is 1.8 metres long by 1.5 metres wide. That represents the solar panel and the gap required between rows of panels. So at a scale of 1:100, the rectangle would be 1.8 centimetres by 1.5 centimetres. Then you can see how many rectangles you can fit on the roof within that 80 centimetre margin. That will give you a rough idea of how many south-facing panels you can fit on the flat roof. Now you may think you can fit more panels on an east-west formation than a south formation, in which case draw a rectangle which is 2.5 by 1.8 metres wide. That's 2.5 centimetres by 1.8 centimetres at 1:100 scale. That rectangle represents 2 panels, one facing east and one facing west. So what about planning permission? Well, until about 2 years ago, planning permission was required for solar panels on a flat roof. However, they now fall under permitted development in the UK, which means you don't need formal consent as long as you stay within a few simple rules. The most important one is height. The panels, including their mounting frames and all the ballast, must not exceed 600 millimeters above the highest part of the roof. Because we typically tilt systems at only 10 degrees, we're almost always well below that limit. There are also the usual restrictions. The system can't extend beyond the roof edge or be installed on a listed building without consent. And if you're in a conservation area or a national park, then you might need to notify the local authority as well. But for the vast majority of homes and commercial buildings, no formal planning permission is required. So now that we've covered what you do and don't need to worry about with planning, let's move on to something that everyone wants to know. How much energy do systems like this actually produce? And what do they cost? Well, a typical system in southern England facing south and pitched at 10 degrees will generate almost exactly 900 kilowatt hours per kilowatt peak per year, assuming there's no shade. If you go for an east-west layout instead, then you'll get about 820 kilowatt hours per kilowatt peak per year. So only a small difference, and remember that you can often fit more panels overall on an east-west setup. Flat roof systems do cost a little more per panel than pitch roof systems. You've got heavier mounting gear, the extra ballast materials, and the cost of a structural survey. At domestic scale, you're probably looking at around £1,200 to £1,800 per kilowatt peak for a 4 to 8 kilowatt system, depending on how complicated it is. Or about £800 to £1,200 per kilowatt for larger systems above 25 kilowatts peak. Those costs do include a scaffolding estimate and a structural survey. But ultimately, every roof is different and every system is different. So if you are interested in a design and quotation, please do reach out to us at Spirit Energy and we'll give you a free bespoke quote that's tailored to your needs and that maximizes the return you can get from your roof space. In terms of how many solar panels you need, well, to that I'd say the answer is the same to the answer for pitch roofs. Most of the cost of the solar install is in the labor and the scaffolding, not the cost of the panels. The cost of the mounting system is definitely higher for flat roofs, but I'd still say that the best rate of return comes from maxing out whichever roof spaces you're looking to install panels on. If you can fit 20 panels on the roof, don't put the scaffolding out and then bring solar installers to just install 10 panels. 9 times out of 10, you want to fill the roof and fit as many panels as you can. So that's the full picture of flat roof solar, how it's installed, how it's designed, what the planning rules actually say, and how the performance stacks up in the real world. Hopefully you now have a much clearer idea of what goes into doing this properly and what questions to ask if you're planning a system for your own roof. If you're thinking about solar or battery storage, please do get in touch with Spirit Energy and we'll design a system specifically for your building. And if you've already had a flat roof system installed, let us know in the comments. I'd love to hear how it's working out for you. Thanks for watching and please do check out our other videos.